Welcome to What's Trending. With me today, Nichi Hodgson. She is back. How are you doing?
I'm back. Yeah, I'm doing so well. I'm so glad the sun is out. It's bolstering my mood about any manner of things. So I'm very well. Thank you, Lewis.
Well,
How are you?
I'm good. I'm so glad we've got some juicy topics to get into today. They're
Yeah,
ones where genuinely I was like, can't wait to hear what she thinks of this. And we've known each other so long,
I
and
know.
I was like, actually, she could go either way on these. So let's jump in.
Love that. You don't know what I'm going to say. Brilliant. Even
Right.
better.
So the first story is the AI gold rush narrative. So this is
Mm,
the idea that kind of across social media and business content, I'm seeing a lot of this. It's basically AI being kind of packaged up as it's a once in a lifetime chance to get ahead. It's
mhm.
going to make more millionaires than we've ever had before. You should be able to make automated income. Um, but I think it's kind of, I don't know, for me, it's given me almost a bit of anxiety. It's like, oh my God, there's
Mhm.
this new thing. Everyone's getting ahead of it. I'm not getting ahead of it. Although I do feel like I was an early adopter to AI, but I'm not using it to kind of generate income.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this kind of idea of like, will you be left behind? This gap is closing now. And I kind of feel the same way. I now retrospectively look back on crypto, which is like, crypto was like, what? What's crypto?
Yeah.
Sounds dodgy to me. And then we know someone at least that like has done pretty well off crypto. So where are you with this kind of AI gold rush?
Oh, this is so fascinating. Well, yeah, I'm firmly in the camp of people are very anxious and we need to deal with the anxiety. And actually, a lot of the anxieties are perfectly justified. So, what I mean by that is, yeah, whenever you get a new technology, there's always a wave of people that are obsessed with it that tell you, it's going to be a revolution in how we communicate or create anything that we create for work or whatever, like exactly what happened with the internet, the dot-com boom. But a slight difference here is that AI is not really very democratic. And what I mean by that is, first of all, you have to know how to use it, and there are lots of people that don't have any access to training. You're meant to be able to just open up chat gpt, but to do the most sophisticated work, to get the most benefits out of it, you actually need a level of training and understanding that a lot of people don't have. It's problematic for developing countries. It takes a lot of energy because of the cooling systems that are required to, keep Chat GPT and all its computers at the right setting. And it's like all tech. It's male, it's white, it's biased towards certain kinds of male white thinking. And more than that, and we've talked about this before, Lewis, there's this whole mental health issue with it. That not only is there a potential correlation between people having bad mental health and using AI whilst they're in the kind of throes of a episode, but there are actually some cases going through Californian courts right now that imply that chat gpt can actually cause you mental health problems. So oh
Mm.
my goodness, I just don't, there are so many ethical and moral issues with it. But I think what's disturbing people twofold is, one, you can't opt out. It doesn't feel like we've had any choice in agreeing to be part of the AI revolution. It's just happening whether we like it or not. And also, unlike previous technological inventions, it's happening at such a pace. So I don't know if you know the computer whiz and writer Jamie Bartlett. He does a lot on the internet and how it affects us. But he's kind of said that what it is about AI that people find so disturbing is that normally when you have a new technology, the development of it kind of goes like along like this for a while on a graph. Most people realize it's coming and then it starts to go up, the so-called hockey stick. But AI has done that. So basically, that's why everyone's freaking out, because it's come upon us too soon before we were ready for it. So, yeah, for all those reasons, I'm incredibly cynical. And obviously, not least to say that it really affects your cognitive abilities, because if you over rely on it, you're not using those critical thinking skills. And if you don't use them, you'll lose them.
I get all that. And that's, you very well summed up the ethical side of this. But I'm
Mm.
kind of like, ethics aside and sort of, consumerist cap on, like you're a
Hmm.
working mom.
Yep.
Do you not feel this sense of, oh my God, I've been given this amazing tool. I need to use it to pull ahead and make money now, especially while the economy is not looking good? Are you not feeling that pressure from people to be like, well, you should optimize your writing. Here's how I grew my Substack to 1 million
Uh huh.
subscribers using AI. It's that stuff that I'm seeing that's making me like, oh my God, like I got to get ahead of this, because I'm going to be lost in this sea of like everyone else adopted to it quicker than me, and I was left behind.
I don't feel like that at all. And the reason I don't feel like that is because I believe that human function and human ability, especially in the fields in which we work, in the arts, in writing, will still be heralded as superior to whatever AI can do. AI is full of mistakes, riddled with errors. And I use ChatGPT as an experiment on some of my journalistic work. And as of yet, it can't do what I can do best quicker. It can do things like um, pull from a massive data set, a specific number that I'm looking for. Yes, that saves me time. But in terms of the formulation and the subtlety of the development of something, it can't touch the side jet. So
Have
yeah,
you
I'm just not bothered.
So, for most people watching, they'll know, but you're a published author. Have you
Yeah.
not been tempted to throw in the transcripts of your book into AI and say, what would be a good follow on book? Or can you turn these books into helpful 30-second YouTube clips that I could record? Like,
Mhm.
what about using AI to optimize what you've already done?
So that's an interesting idea. No, I haven't. Again, because, well, one, partly I'm lazy, and two, I actually quite like the fact that there isn't that much of me on the internet. I mean,
What?
there's no, but there's okay, there is quite a lot about me. But what I mean is, like, it's a scarcity model. It's like, why do you want to deluge everybody with loads of content about you? It will just irritate them. It's counterproductive past a point. It's quality, not quantity.
Interesting. No, that's a really good point. So just before we move off this topic, you outlined really well kind of the ethical problems, but I think do you think that AI is putting a lot of pressure onto people now, because it's almost taken away this sense of, oh, I don't know how to do that. Well,
Hmm.
you can easily find out now, whether it's fixing your washing machine or how to submit a proposal for a book. AI can say, this is the step by step how you have to do. Here I am explaining it to a 3-year-old. Like,
Sure.
so now people kind of don't have that excuse. So, oh, I don't know how to do that. That's beyond me. You can do anything.
Mhm.
And does that put more pressure on us, that the failure is really us, not the circumstances?
Well, I'd say, yes, you can give people instructions to do anything, but actually, there's still skill required in implementing instructions half the time. You can't, for example, AI can't tell you how to be a tennis player as brilliant as Serena Williams, and then you just model it and go out and do it. It doesn't work like that. So, yes, domestic things, like simple tasks. I mean, it goes without saying that, the most low level clerical work or, entry level work that was done by, I don't know, early career lawyers or whatever, AI can do that. And that's a problem for people getting that experience at that level. But and I mean, look, the whole point of computing and AI is that it's meant to rid us of the jobs that we are too busy to do, that are tedious and repetitive, that it can handle, and leave
Hmm.
us to do the most creative, compelling, subtle things. So yeah, again, I'm still not worried yet.
All right. Well, that's your verdict. I told you I wouldn't be able to predict your opinion on that one. Let's move on to the next topic. Right, so next topic, Manosphere, really big at the moment. Louis Theroux has
Mhm.
done a documentary on the Manosphere, so it's caused all of this re-examination of the Manosphere. Full disclosure from sort of the place I'm coming to on this. I want to get your
Yeah.
thoughts before I give you an opinion, but I haven't watched the documentary. I probably will watch it. I've got to be honest. Probably one of the reasons I haven't rushed to watch it is because I already kind of feel like, well, it's going to be a foregone conclusion. He's not going to do a documentary. It's going to be like, actually, the manosphere is misunderstood and it's a really great thing and here are all the benefits.
Yeah.
It's going to be concluding that these people are bad people. And that's probably, like, for me, I'm like, oh, well, I already know then.
Yeah.
I actually have done some stuff on the manosphere. So I was asked to write a couple of articles. I wrote one about better male role models than Andrew Tate. I also have done a panel discussion on the Manosphere. And as part of
Yeah.
those things, I have actually watched a lot of Manosphere content. And I think I have a bit of a different take. And I almost think we're treating the wrong symptom when it comes to the Manosphere. But I'm keen to get your thoughts on it first.
Well, this is so interesting. You know what? So exactly, I saw all the hoo ha about the documentary. Obviously, I too have been working on and around this stuff for years. So I thought, well, what new is it? What new is it going to tell me? Because this is something I research a lot about anyway. And I watched it for about 7 minutes, and I was like, it's kind of not doing anything new for me. And actually, it was depressing me. So I just put some absolute trash on instead and thought, I don't need to have more of that. What I want, we know what the problems are with the manosphere. We know how terrible or performative some of it is. I want solutions and I want role models for men that are doing something different. That's what I want to see. I want some hope. So yeah, I'm not going to be watching the rest of the documentary. I mean, I've done quite a lot of work on Andrew Tate, and I interviewed somebody who's written a book about him, Jamie Tarsin, a journalist who works at the BBC, and he did this investigation while he was at Vice magazine about him. And what I found particularly interesting about the book that he's produced since is that he really kind of breaks it down as a problem of social media more than a problem, or not only a problem of masculinity. You know, algorithms on social media are always rewarding the most outrageous kinds of content, and provocative stuff is what has allowed Andrew Tate and his ilk to rise and proliferate on the internet. And, you know, it just comes back down to the same problem of tech ethics for me. All that's happened is those guys have been able to harness the fright power of misogyny. Um,
Mm.
and there's an element of performativity to that. But, you know, it doesn't take away from the fact that those men are still being consumed as role models, and they're still polluting the world's discussion on misogyny and what, you know, women's and men's interaction should be.
Yeah. It's so interesting for me because when I was writing the article and when I was getting ready to do the panel, I listened to a couple of podcasts of Andrew Tate on. And the thing that became clear to me is what a lot of stuff is reported about is his views on women, which rightly they
Mhm.
should be. But in my personal, and I only listened to a couple of episodes, but I would say that was a small part of what he talked about. And what a lot of what he was talking about, and what a lot of the other manosphere people are talking about, is self-improvement, is
Mhm.
about being powerful, is about taking responsibility, autonomy, and about not kind of taking on the mainstream narrative. And I was like,
Sure.
I think this is where the problem is, right? Who is telling young boys it's okay to be strong? Who is telling young boys this is how you make it in today's world because the world has changed? A lot
Mhm.
of the mainstream stuff now, I think we do hear more and more about toxic masculinity. And I think, well, if you've started out with your premises, you know, men are mainly toxic, like they're not going to listen to you. Of course, they're going to go somewhere
Yeah.
else. We've created this vacuum in the mainstream society, and then even if you're not going to call them toxic, kind of saying like you're a man, this is how you get to the next level, this is how you build your strength, and actually it's not about always your feelings, it's about persevering and
Yeah.
having discipline. I'm like, well, if that's the only place that, like, you know, it's like you can almost see this coming a mile away, and I don't
Mhm.
understand realistically, unless there's some big changes, how we wrestle back control from these influences. So just because I've just kind of given a slight defense that I'm not saying these
No,
guys
I
are
know you're
who
not.
should be raising our boys, because there are some crazy things that come out of their mouths. But at the same
Uh-huh.
time, I understand how young men can find themselves there with like, oh, this is the first person that's ever told me actually I should respect myself and that this woman's behavior is not acceptable and she doesn't know how to be in a relationship or whatever it is. We don't really have those kind of conversations. And so I'm kind of like, it's one thing to say these manosphere people are bad and they
Mm.
say these things about women. Yeah, those are all true. But unless you're willing to fill the void with something else, like we're just going to keep going around in circles.
Yeah, but the problem is, I mean, I partly agree with you, and I understand what you're saying. The problem is, men's power does not have to come at the expense of women's
Hmm.
or their autonomy, and that is just like this most basic rule of the future of the sexes having anything to do with each other that isn't being addressed. And again, the problem is actually there are people that have been saying for years that there's room for men, and those people tend to be man-loving feminists, and feminism has such a bad rap in so many spheres that they don't want to listen to those people. What we have always needed is men to deliver the message of positive masculinity to men.
Mm,
Men don't listen to women, they listen to other men. And but the problem is the algorithm doesn't reward those reasonable, right-thinking men. I mean, you think about
yeah.
Jordan Peterson when he first came out, he felt really fresh and different and important for young men. But very soon he was back on the old misandry train, and then you know he's gone slightly bonkers since. But
It's a
yeah, what
shame
we
with
need
Jordan
is
Peterson because I really
yeah,
felt that when he came on the scene, I was like, this might be what men
completely,
need, you know,
completely. But he,
responsibility, taking
yeah,
autonomy. But then, yeah, when it was
but it
just,
just, and partly the reason it went down that misogynistic line is because that is what the internet rewards. We have to stop the internet and social media rewarding misogyny,
Mm.
and then maybe we'll get the content and the role models we deserve.
Yeah, I agree. I think that look, men and women need each other. Like we all have to
Well, I don't know
coexist.
about that. We don't need you, but we do like you
Well,
sometimes. I think
yeah,
that's the best way of putting it.
well, we've all got to share the earth. So
For now, yeah. Until Elon's built his colony, colony on Mars. Yeah, for now we're sharing the earth.
And, you know, I've got a young boy and I've got a young girl. So, you
Yeah.
know, so, you know, I'm invested in these kind of things working out and everyone being the best version of themselves and
Sure,
being
sure.
able to bring that to other people that they interact with. So I do think that the mainstream maybe needs to think about, well, what role model do we want for men? Because I think there are some people out there, obviously on the more extreme left, where like, right, well, if we're going to have a male role model, he needs to be waving a feminism flag and he needs to be kissing and he needs to do all this stuff. And it's like, there are very few men that are going to look at him and say, I want to be him. So you have got to compete on what men kind of want to attain, which sometimes is, you know, sports, or it might be a fast car, or it may be wealth. And we're going to have a conversation about, well, just because a guy is wealthy and sleeps with a lot of women, as long as everyone's consenting, like, is that a terrible thing? Obviously there's power that needs to be balanced in that, but I mean, you know, from another podcast we did, like, I've slept with a load of people, so I don't think there's anything wrong with sleeping with a load of people, you know what I mean?
Me and you are both on. I know me and you are on the same page here.
Yeah.
But there is this thing about respect and sex. Sadly, because of the double standard, women that have lots of sex are still viewed as somehow worth less than those that hold onto their sexual purity. And that's ridiculous. And that needs to change. I've got no problem with anyone sleeping with a million people as long as they respect every single person they slept with, right? I mean, and it doesn't matter what your gender is. But the sad reality is that most men that pursue, you know, an endless stream of women are not really treating them as whole people.
Yeah. No, I know. And that's a problem, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's weird. And obviously with you and I both being in the LGBT world, sometimes I see the parallels with like gay guys that are like seeing a load of people and see them as me. And I'm like, oh, is it anti-women or is it just that some people that are just like, well, it's just sex to me? Like, I don't know. Like, it's sometimes a hard thing to balance.
Yeah. It's impossible to separate out the elements, isn't it? But all I know is that as someone who is sexually liberated and has talked and written about it a lot, I have been excessively judged by men who presume all sorts of things about me as a result of that, where I'm like, manners and respect, my baseline, you know that.
Yeah.
And I won't deal with anyone who doesn't have those.
Just before we move off this topic, put yourself in the mind of a 16-year-old boy.
Yeah, okay. I'll try. Go on then.
Who in the current mainstream culture now would you look up to as a role model? And if there's not one, what would you be looking for?
I don't know. Bad Bunny, what's wrong with him? Apart from being ridiculously hot, obviously, from my middle-aged MILF vantage point. I mean, look, there are lots of men who are still masculine and still inhabit a masculinity, but not at the expense of women or of people that are kind of less privileged than them. I think, you know, that performance at the Grammys was really significant because it really embodied that kind of masculinity that was extremely sexy and compelling and something to admire, but not at the expense of others.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I mean, just to final one on this. Do you think that because now the Manosphere is back in kind of the mainstream zeitgeist, do you think that people will be so horrified as to say, okay, we need to take this seriously, but we need to create some more male role models that we're kind of happy for the boys to look up to, which does not mean someone that's just completely, you know, does whatever anyone
Yeah,
says. Like they have they have to actually be attractive in sort of lifestyle sense to young boys.
I completely get it. No, because first of all, whenever you try and manufacture role models, it never works. They have to rise up authentically. So what we need though is social media on the side of positive masculinity. We want social media to amplify the voices of those people that do exist, but aren't getting promoted to the top of your YouTube the way Andrew Tate is. And that really is down to social media.
Well, I'm sure this topic will continue. Let's move on to the next topic. Right, this one, can't wait for your opinion on, especially because you've already told us how you feel about AI. So a man has used AI to create a personalized cancer vaccine for his dog. This was something I had to actually go and fact check because
Yeah.
I saw a lot of posts about it on socials. Like, did this really happen? Then it has been reported in the mainstream. So he basically, I think he only spent like 3 grand on it, but basically the dog had a tumor.
Hmm.
He kind of sent it off for a biopsy. Then he put it into a couple of different AIs and basically manufactured this whole vaccine. I don't, obviously with cancer, I don't think you can ever really say cured. It's like you're in remission, or the tumor
Yeah.
has shrunk. So we've got to be careful on saying like, oh, it's completely healed. Not
Yeah.
so. Um, but basically has managed to save the life of his dog, or at least extend it, which is incredible because obviously the next thing is like, well, can we do this in humans? Can we, for
Right.
3 grand, basically cure everyone of cancer? What do you think?
This is so fascinating, stories. This guy who's in Australia, the important thing to say is that he's in technology. So, although he didn't have the scientific knowledge, he was smart enough to be able to work out that there was probably a way that you could edit the genome. And he was able to research using ChatGPT what he didn't know and find the appropriate medical people that could help him, right? Um, so he was able to identify the appropriate scientists that could help him. And he's done this in his own time. It's not that he's taken up work time. He's funded it himself for his dog, Rosie. And it's obviously a passion project because he adores his dog that he's tried to do this. And just like you say, she isn't cured of cancer, but it's bought her many more healthy years. I don't have a problem with this kind of thing because it's actually this kind of level of passion that you need to sometimes have scientific breakthroughs. And the scientists that have worked with them have said that they don't have the time and resources in their day-to-day work to do it. That's why he had to pay them on top of. And so, yeah, I mean, for me, if somebody self-funds a breakthrough that is then able to generate more knowledge for the greater good, then I'm all for that. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this to me is a positive case of AI where someone's
Yeah.
actually able to have all of the knowledge at their fingertips, figure out what they need to do, outsource the bits they can't do themselves, and actually create, something that's been life extending. And obviously, the idea that, well, maybe these medical breakthroughs now, thanks to AI, are going to keep coming quicker and quicker.
Hmm. Absolutely. I mean, the main problem with all research into illnesses is the funding. It's that most medical and scientific bureaus or academic schools, they don't have the money they need and the time to pursue certain kinds of research. The other thing that we need to say about humans, of course, is that you've always got to do clinical trials, right? Like that's kind of at the base of medical ethics for humans, which is why sometimes it takes so long to find cures for things, because you've got to do it in a certain ethical way. But I mean, yeah, I mean, look, if individuals are willing to kind of sponsor private scientific experiments and research that then go on to help more people, I'm all for it.
Mm. Well, I think this is an incredible story. I am looking forward to more stories like this, and I think this is a really positive case for AI. And I'm just excited for what we might be able to unlock and how many people we might be able to save. Like, I am so up
Yeah.
for, once the tech is a bit better, I'll finally get a smartwatch that can kind
Hmm.
of tell me if I'm ill before I'm ill, and like
Right.
sort of that would be so cool. So I am excited about the Star Trek world we're coming into.
Can't wait to see you with them, the metal attachments to your head and various organs to
So this is my thing.
make them work better.
I draw the line at tech at implants. Like, I don't want anything put in
Okay.
my brain or my eyes or anything like
Hmm.
that. Like, I
So you're
want
not going
to
to be
be
on Neuralink anytime soon. Got
no,
it.
no, no. I want to be able to take the tech off. That's my thing.
Right.
I want to be able to take the
Right.
tech
Right.
off.
Got it.
Right.
Nice.
Let's move on to the next one. Right, so next story is fewer women are having babies. Are immature men to blame? Now, full disclosure, this story was one that I got called about by TV producers, and they wanted me to go on and
Hmm.
discuss this, but they were looking for someone to argue, yes, men are immature, which is just not my take on this. I mean, you and I both have kids, so I think we can
Yeah.
probably outline why people are not having kids, but do you think that there is a case to be made that men are really immature and that's why we're not having kids?
Yeah, I do. I meet so many of them. I've
Go
met
on.
so many of them in my time. I mean, luckily, I didn't want children. So I was never really like assessing anybody that I was dating by that criteria. And then I happened to meet somebody who persuaded me. So it's very different in my case. But all the women I meet or know of in their 30s will say the same thing, that men are just not they're not responsible enough. The men they meet on dating apps or in the real world are just have to just not got it together. But it's not as simple as just saying men are not ready. It's like, we've got to be frank, it's the economic situation. It's the fact that it's so expensive. It's the fact that it takes you so long to get a great job, that you can't get on the property ladder. The other thing, though, that I would say is it kind of is the obvious and natural repercussion of feminism. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, because the other problem is that women want men to step up to the plate. So women want children, but they only want to have children with men who are prepared to do half of the labor. And too many men have not figured that out yet. There are too many men who are too lazy to do their part. And women are just saying, well, we don't want that. And I can't blame them, because that's exactly how I would have felt. Luckily, I have a husband who does half. And if he didn't do half, I would make him. It's that simple.
No, it's actually really quite interesting. So I was doing drop off today, as I do 3 times a week on the
Hmm.
days I'm not in the office, and I was actually saying, oh, it's so interesting because I'd say it's about a 50-50 gender split right now of dads
Yeah,
to moms
yeah.
doing drop off, which is quite nice to see. I mean, look, I think that there's a numerous reasons why the birth rate is declining. I think number one is sort of thanks to contraception, I guess. Like people, like, I think people are having less unplanned pregnancies and babies. Um, I think that kind of tied to that is people aren't just saying, "Oh, well, we're together, we've got married. The next logical thing is to have children,"
Yeah.
even though we've not really thought about it, but we'll just have kids because that's what you do. So I think there's less of that. I do think there is a big financial pressure, and a lot of people
Yeah.
having one child and saying we can't really afford two.
Hmm.
I actually, and I'll pop it up on the screen. There was an Instagram post that blew my mind the other day, but it's so true, which is like the problem is if you if there are if there's a couple and each person is earning 60K, um their tax is lower and they qualify for child tax credits or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But if it's just one person that's working that's earning the same amount of money, like
Hmm.
their tax is like 2 or 3 grand higher and they don't
Yeah.
qualify for tax credits. And I've got to be honest, like, I do think, especially in those early years, like, you need someone to look after the baby because if you don't have someone looking after the baby, then you have to pay someone to do it. And that is just as expensive as someone taking time out. I think that's
Hmm.
really hard. But also, so I've worked since we've had kids, but
Yeah.
there was 3 weeks I had to have out because someone was in hospital. So actually the 2 kids were my responsibility. And I learned so much those 3 weeks of like, my God, like there's so much to do. Like there is
It is
so much to
constant.
do.
It's so much easier just to have a job, go sit at your desk, answer emails, drink a hot coffee. I mean, but don't talk to mums about drinking a hot coffee. It takes about 5 years before that comes back. But this is the thing, though. This is the thing. This kind of comes back to the point about men. Men are not often cognizant before they have children of the amount of labor that children bring. And sadly, women just suck so much of it up. And men have just got to be a bit more willing to take real responsibility and to work with their partners, to really work as a team. Because it's not just up to your female partner to make everything work in the household if you both wanted children.
So what would you say if the men there at age are immature, wouldn't the like logical thing to do to kind of date people that are a bit older, a bit more settled?
No, 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 because maturity has got nothing to do with age and everything to do with experience and worldview. It's like it doesn't make any difference if you pick a 50-year-old; they can still be absolutely useless.
Right.
So it's got to be a maturing of men as like a whole group, as stepping into responsibility and being more aware of how much work and effort it takes to have a family.
And so where would you say this immaturity comes from then? Do you think that the men these days are just not bothered? They've got more distractions, there's porn, there's video games, or they just weren't taught it? Or do you think that men have always been this way and actually now they're being asked to do more than their dads or granddads were asked to do? And actually the men haven't changed, the expectations of them have?
It's a couple of things. Partly it's the fact that we've delayed adulthood, you know? So think about maybe in the 1960s, it would have been quite common for two people in their early 20s, man and woman, to be married and have children. That wouldn't have been thought of as odd. Whereas now, what the average age for having your first child as a guy, it must be over 30. I know it's over 30. So part of it is that. But the other thing, sadly, is yeah, like I mean, men have had it really good for a long time, and they haven't been required to look after house and home as well as work. But what happened is that all of a sudden women were required to keep the house and home and have a full-time job, and they put their foot down very rightly.
Do you think that there is like an economic argument in the sense of I don't care who stays home with the kids. I actually think I would have been the best stay-at-home dad
I
if
think
the
you would. I think
I
you
would
would.
have I'd have known all the gossip about all the parents at the nursery.
All the
We'd be
WhatsApp
having
groups,
play
yeah.
dates, like we'd be like creating like pictures and like wrapping presents and really thoughtful things and going to take people little cakes that we've made, and there'd be so much drama and I'd love it. Economics doesn't work that way. I earn the most, so I am the one that kept working. But do you think that there is sort of here, like, so it's not a gender thing as in, oh, women should stay home. Like,
Sure.
either parent should be able to stay home. But the finances for most people mean that that is not possible. I meet so many women now, obviously I won't say who are
Mm.
like, I didn't want to come back to work.
Yeah.
I'm here because of the mortgage. Like,
Yeah.
it pains me that I'm paying a stranger to look after my baby
Mhm.
when I want to be with them, but the mortgage. And that to me
Yeah.
doesn't feel like empowerment.
No, but at the root of that is a fundamental gender discrepancy, which we still haven't ironed out, which is that men still tend to earn more than women. I mean, I know lots of people now where they're similarly educated, and even in that couple, the man still earns more, and there's not really a good reason anymore. But gender pay gap still exists, and so what often happens is very highly educated, brilliant women who love their careers. Maybe they earn 10 grand less than their male partner, and they have no choice but to stay at home. And then they're resentful because they're perfectly as capable and as educated. And why should it fall on the woman?
Mm.
Should it just be a matter of economics? Because we don't measure human value solely, in terms of what income you can bring in. So there's got to be more men that are willing to forego the privileges and the power and the prestige that comes with having that kind of job. And that's quite difficult for people. For men in particular, it is quite difficult to imagine not having the social prestige of that kind of job and just being at home all the time with their kids.
I think the problem is with all of this stuff, there are some fundamental things that obviously need to change, but you're also dealing with like 70 million people in this population,
Hmm.
all of whom want different things.
Yeah.
And, there are going to be some women that want to stay at home and don't want to work. There are going to be some women that don't really want to see the kid at all and would rather send it off to boarding
Yeah.
school and work. And there's going to be loads of people in between. And it's really hard. And I guess for couples as well, like if you are the man and you're making more money, you
Hmm.
probably, you're not going to, from an economic side, you're not going to be like, well, I can take the hit and just not work because you're going to be worse off. Like I would have loved to have had a year off with the kids,
Yeah.
but financially that's just like that. There's no chance. Your way to support the
Yeah.
kids is by working and putting food on the table and
Hmm.
keeping the roof over their heads. So
I
there's
completely agree.
it's just really tricky to know how we improve it. And I do think maybe it needs to cut. I think there is an economic thing because I think if you could support like you could in like say the 90s an average family on an average one wage, then I think that
Yeah.
we're cooking with gas then, because then
Yeah.
everyone can sort of do what they want. The women could work and the man can stay home or whatever. But I just fundamentally think right now we're almost kind of like on train tracks. It's like there's not really you can't really go left or right. We're just kind of chugging along.
Yeah, but then again, it comes back down to the value of money. Yes, in late stage capitalism, it feels like everyone just has to work and optimize working and constantly make more money. But you can make a decision to have a simpler, cheaper, quieter life.
Mm.
And I that I was very lucky when I had my daughter because my husband and I could afford to stop working together. But that was something we calculated for a long time. And that's beyond the reach of most people. But now he works more than I do because he makes more. But I could work full time if I wanted to, and I choose not to for my own sanity. Because we can afford without it. But I also do live a cheaper life. I live a cheaper life than I used to live. And I prefer it because I'd rather have the time with my daughter. Money just isn't that important to me. But you can only say that when you've got some.
Yeah, it's true. And I've been thinking quite a lot, especially doing this podcast, on like the value of money. And I think
Uh-huh.
loads of people want to be like millionaires, billionaires, but I think money comes with like there was someone I was listening to a different podcast the other day. They were saying like you've got to think what the value is. It's like if you have a job where you can drop off your kids 3 times a week
Yeah,
and pick them up, and you can have the holidays off with them, and work isn't causing you stress. Like that is a pretty decent life.
it
Like,
is. It is. You have to decide what your priorities are. And my priorities are my sanity, the health of my family, time spent with them, and not being in a complete mess all the time. And if that means being a bit more broke, then I accept that.
yeah. Right, let's move on to the next topic. So, the next topic is increased pressure to optimize every part of your life. So,
Yes.
I see this on socials and stuff. Like, there's a guy with bigger muscles than me. There's a guy that looks happier with his children than I look with mine. There's, a dad that's clearly having sex 3 times a day, and still, and it's like, it's so hard when you kind of always see all this stuff. I think you and I come from a different place on AI, whereas
Mm,
I come from a place with AI of almost it's getting a bit crippling anxiety of I have been given a supercomputer. I should be able to optimize every moment of my life. My
yeah.
breakfast should be perfect. My workout routine should be perfect. My work should be, everything should be perfect. And we're being shown that people can be
Yeah.
perfect. How are you dealing with the increased pressure to optimize every part of your life?
Take it in my stride to be as inefficient in certain areas of my life as possible, because it is rebellion in this day and age. There is nothing I love more than wasting an hour, right? And when I say wasting, I will just sit there and think whatever I want for an hour, drinking a coffee really slowly, thinking, oh, there's all this other stuff I could be doing, but I am purposefully eschewing it because this has a value. Because the other thing that I would say is that when you are a creative, the best ideas you have come in that downtime. If you don't give yourself that time for stuff to float to the surface, it never comes. And actually, it's not wasted one bit. And we need to get more comfortable with just sitting in presence, right? This is my thing. And it's such a luxury, and it feels so good when you do it.
You know what? You're making a compelling case because
It's so good.
I am
There's nothing
someone.
I love more than a wasted hour. It's just completely refreshing.
I'm chasing my tail actually because I literally I'm always there. Like there's more I need to be doing, and I'm
Yeah.
doing two things at once, and I'm like
But it never ends, Lewis. It never ends, which is why you have to decide your own stopping point. Like you get to 7 o'clock at night, you say, right, from now on, I don't do anything more that is to do with productivity. Now I relax, because relaxing is incredibly important to your well-being.
and so you don't feel any pressure from people you see online or celebs
Nah,
or
nah,
even
mate.
people in your own
No,
life that's like,
no,
oh.
couldn't care less. It's taken me years. It has taken me years to be this inefficient and to enjoy it. And I am not giving it up for anything now.
I love that. You know what? I'm going to try and channel a bit of you going forward, because I actually think I need that kind of day.
Yeah.
I would say actually this is how much I am optimizing all my time. Um, I was recently at a house for like a day and it didn't have internet, and I was just there doing some
Mhm.
jobs. But then there was this kind of moment I was just sort of sat there and I was just staring at the wall thinking, and then I realized an hour had gone by and I was like, "Oh my
There
God,
you go.
I don't think I've done that in about 10 years. Just sat
I
and
know.
thought to myself."
Isn't it luxurious? It's because I've been learning to meditate. I'm really into my Buddhism, as people who follow me online know. As cliche as that sounds for middle-aged Western white woman, but but meditation is really fascinating because people who don't meditate presume they don't have time or space for it. But you find that when you do the meditation, everything opens up, and suddenly you have more space and time for everything, and it's quite remarkable.
Do you not feel any tinge from age? Like now, I'm kind of feeling a bit, oh my God, I'm getting older. Um, there's all this stuff that I want to do that I haven't done. And that I think puts another layer of pressure on me, just my age. Do you not feel just as you get older, there's stuff you want to do that you haven't done?
No, not really. And the reason I don't is because I was over anxious in my 20s, and fast forwarded through certain things because I was so obsessed with getting them done, like getting published, for example, that I've been able to chill out a bit more as I've got older because I've already got some stuff in the bag. But the other thing is that I don't take for granted that I'm going to wake up tomorrow. It doesn't occur to me that, oh, I might only have 20 years, 20 good years left. I might only have 2 hours and 22 minutes left. So I intend on fully enjoying and being in the moment for those hours and minutes, however many remain. So yeah, there are things I want to achieve, but I don't break my back to do it.
This has been so refreshing. I'm gonna keep what you've said in mind, to be honest. I think I need it.
Good, do. Tell me how it goes.
I will. Right, final story. So final story, bit of a fun one to end on. A pyramid-shaped structure has been spotted on Mars, sparking online speculation that either it was put there by aliens or perhaps there was life on Mars and we all just build pyramids. It's quite interesting because I'm seeing more and more of this stuff now, stuff that used to be kind of on the fringe. And I don't know whether it's just that the algorithms love it, or everyone loves a mystery, but I hear constantly about UFOs and the UFO disclosures coming. We have had quite scientific breakthroughs about our own pyramids where it's like there's all these shafts underneath them. It's like, what? And you've got things like on Netflix, like Graham Hancock's Ancient Apocalypse, where a lot of people now believe the human race was advanced once before. There was a cataclysm, we had to rebuild, and we lost a lot of know-how.
Yeah.
Where do you stand on this stuff? And do you find it interesting when we see odd shapes on Mars and the moon?
It is fascinating, isn't it? I think there's a natural human curiosity for wonder. And I think we like things that we consider to be esoteric because we like to think that what we all know isn't the limits of reality, right? And I think about, and it's not just to kind of, pre-enlightenment, when people had like very, very developed folklores and distinct cultural, spiritual beliefs, it would have been easy to say, well, this is definitely plausible, possible, and actually people were more willing to believe it. But what I actually think is that when you look at history since the Enlightenment, since the age of science, there's always been some pushback on the idea that then everything has to be explained by science, right? So the Victorians had spiritualism, they were obsessed with connecting with the dead at a time when the Industrial Revolution was changing how people lived from a position of science. So it's human nature, I think, to think beyond. But the other thing about space, of course, is that actually most of the leading physicists and astronomers and astrologists all agree that they think there will be another life form just by scientific odds. There's got to be another life form in the universe. And, I think people are just excited for when we're finally going to discover it. I hope it'll be in my lifetime.
I think it is going to be in our lifetime. Like, I really think we're going to have lived through the most insane times. Like, I remember there being 4 channels and VCRs and a dial-up network. And a landline, like the first mobile phone in the family. I remember all that stuff. And we're gonna
shops open on a Sunday, all of that kind of stuff.
And we're gonna end on bloody Mars with AI robots doing the house. It's gonna have been the wildest time to have been alive. Like
the wildest ride. And like let's remember the reason the discovery of extraterrestrial or alien life will be so fundamentally incredible is that it will fundamentally challenge what we understand by our own human nature about the value of life and what life is. And it will be profound. It will be the most profound thing that has ever happened to human beings.
Do you think that society is ready for it? Do you think that if, as some people think, Donald Trump comes up to the lectern and says, yeah, there's been aliens, they visited, here's a spacecraft that they left before, it's all legit. Do you think people freak out, or do you think people think, yeah, I kind of thought that was the case?
I think increasingly people are ready for it, but some people are not. And I guess it depends in which form they take. If they're going to be hostile, well, that's not going to be so fun, is it? But we can't possibly know that yet.
See, my whole thing is that if a government official comes out and tells me, yeah, aliens are real and they visited, I actually would be really calm. It's more if they're caught off guard. If a spaceship comes and hovers above Downing Street now, and Keir Starmer looks like, oh God, then it's like, oh, we weren't expecting this, were we? But if I find out that aliens have been here and they've been visiting over the centuries, I'm like, well, they clearly haven't done us any harm. But also, if a species is so intelligent that it's managed to stay alive for a couple of thousand years to build its intelligence, get off its planet, and travel millions of light years, they probably aren't going to want anything from us. Like, what could we possibly give you that you haven't?
What could we possibly offer them that's sophisticated? No, these will be ultra sophisticated entities that just see us as little amoeba squiggling about on Earth.
It would be like coming to the zoo, I think. Like, they're just coming to see the other animals.
We're not even that interesting to them. So I just don't think there's anything to worry about.
Yeah, me either. I'm like, you obviously have a food source, you have an energy source, you can travel. Like there
Mhm.
is nothing that you don't even need us as slaves, because clearly you'd have built your own drones. Like
Well, exactly, and
we've almost
we're
built
really
robots. Like,
pretty inept. So I mean, yeah, I just don't worry about it. We're just so irrelevant.
yeah, I mean, kind of on that point, I'm like, I don't really worry about it. I wouldn't be worried. The only
Yeah.
reason I'd be worried is if a spaceship appeared and the leaders panicked. I'd be like, oh, so we didn't know this was going to happen. That's
Well,
the only reason.
what you need to worry about is if a spaceship appears and the people that get off are just like us, then you've
Yeah.
got a problem. But otherwise, I'm not bothered.
And just before we wrap up, what do you think about this idea that, there could have been life on Mars, and maybe pyramids are something we understood
Mhm.
before, and that's why we built so many pyramids, and that there was sort of an ancient understanding of the world that's different to the understanding we have today?
But that's not a new theory. In the 70s, there was this really famous set of books. I can't remember what the guy was called, Eric von something. And he said exactly the same thing, that the Aztecs and the Incas were basically aliens from space. That was, everybody had those books in their household. So it's like, it's not new, but it's just a theory that comes back round every so often. I don't really buy it. I don't really buy it because, again, like, why are we tying it to us? I think that's just kind of arrogant, the way that we believe that God is looking out for us. But
Mm.
yeah, I mean, but I'm open. I'm open to it. I'm open to being persuaded.
Nichi, it's been great as always having you on the podcast. If people want more of your opinions or your chilled out existence, where can they go?
Well, I wouldn't say chilled out. I'm still pretty high energy for all the meditation that I'm learning to do. Come and follow me on Instagram at Nichi Hodgson, Nichi. I also write intimate Substack about psychosis and in-depth mental health issues, and just catch me all across the internet, basically.
Thank you so much.
Subscribe for more content.